there was a reason why you chose recovery in the first place. Hello everyone, as always, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's your first time here. My name is Marlene. I talk about eating disorder recoveries, my personal story, and everything related to healing the relationship with food, body, and movement. So let's dive right in as always. And today I wanted to do this video for everyone who feels stuck in recovery right now, because I certainly know how it feels. Just a little bit about me. I started recovery in February 2022 when I moved to New York, moved to California, then went back to Germany for a while, and now I'm living in California. I'm fully recovered, and I'm here to show you that recovery is possible. I had anorexia for a decade, for 10 years. It started when I was 17 and I went until I was 27. That as a background. When I was in my recovery, I felt stuck so many times. In fact, in probably 80% of the days I wanted to go back. And the only reason why I didn't was actually everything that I had learned about recovery and eating disorders and the science behind recovery so far. So instead of relying on my emotions and relying on my motivation, I actually relied on what I knew about eating disorder recovery, which was that it will feel worse before it gets better, that it will take some time and it will feel horrible for such a long time. But because of my knowledge and because of everything I had learned about recovery already, I knew that it would get better eventually. And I also would watch a lot of videos, just like the kind that I'm doing now, in order to keep me motivated, because every single person who talked about their eating disorder recovery was saying that they felt horrible in recovery and that they were convinced that it would never ever get better. And yet every single person who recovered actually said it would be better, and they had a recovered life at the end, just like me. And so this is the reason I'm making these videos. So today I want to remind you that feeling stuck in recovery or having the urge to go back is normal, which doesn't mean that you should do it. Because I always have this little bridge metaphor. So imagine you're on a bridge, and on the one side of the bridge is your eating disorder. On the other side of the bridge is your recovered life, and the bridge itself is recovery. So you're on this bridge, it's windy, it's cold, it feels very unsafe, it feels new because you always were on the safe side of the eating disorder. So you have two options. You have three options. You can go back to your eating disorder, which you don't want to do anymore because otherwise you wouldn't have chosen recovery in the first place. So there was a point in your eating disorder where you realized that this is not the life you want to live anymore. And even if you now feel like your eating disordered life was better, there was a reason why you chose recovery in the first place. Your second option is to stay on the bridge forever, which is kind of quasi-recovery. So you kind of maybe eat a little bit more, move a little bit less, get rid of some of the habits, but you're still you're gonna stay on this windy, cold bridge forever. This is not the kind of life that you deserve. This is not the kind of life that you chose when you decided you wanted to do recovery. And the third, and in my opinion, the only real option, is to continue walking over that cold, scary bridge towards your recovered life. And again, I am convinced that recovery is possible for everyone. I don't care if you have been with an eating disorder for 2 months or 2 years or 20 years or 50 years. I am convinced, and also from a scientific standpoint, it is possible for everyone, because neural rewiring, which is one of the biggest things in recovery, is possible for everyone, regardless of how long you've spent with your eating disorder. So be aware that it is possible for you, even though it might feel impossible for you most of the days. I know a lot of people who are telling me, well, I'm the only person where recovery won't work. I'm the unicorn. And I referred to Amalia Lee in a recent video, and somebody asked about her. I can tag her down here because her content is amazing. She has a great podcast. She does a lot of content on Instagram. And she once said, "You are not a unicorn. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you are not the unicorn that won't recover. If you continue doing the work, you will eventually recover. I promise you." But in order to do this, it is so important to tackle all these sneaky little habits, because you might be in recovery and you might challenge yourself already a little bit, but you still want to stay safe with some habits. And this is something I see in a lot of people. They change something and then they become safe in the change they made, and so they don't want to make more changes, because changes are always uncomfortable. Stepping out of your comfort zone is very uncomfortable. That's why we call it the comfort zone. But if you just like do little changes and then stay safe in your recovery, you won't ever make any progress. So in fact, you stayed in the comfortable uncomfort for way too long. And if you have or had an eating disorder, you know exactly what I'm referring to, because it is uncomfortable, it hurts, it is connected to a lot of shame and guilt and all those emotions. So it's nothing fun, but you also create some kind of comfort within your eating disorder, which you can't really escape, which is like why so many people have such a hard time escaping their eating disorders. Like for me, it was some kind of comfort to look at the steps I had walked at night and to like finally allow myself a little bit of food and to know that I, you know, maybe like lost some weight or maintained a very low weight. It felt comfortable, even though everything I did to do it was very uncomfortable. So it is very, very important to understand that your motivation will come and go. And in many, many days, it will probably not be there. So instead of like relying on your motivation, you should rely on your consistency. You should actually make a pact with yourself. If you want to, you can write it down. Or I would have like all those little post-its on my wall with like little sentences and reminders that really helped me to keep going. And then one of it is said, commitment over motivation. And so every morning when I didn't feel like I wanted to do it anymore, I was like, okay, I committed to it. And I also like set myself a time frame. I was like, let's try this for like 2 years. And yes, 2 years can sound like a very, very long amount of time. But in fact, it took me like way less. But I just told myself I can do it for 2 years. And if I still feel like I want to go back, I can go back. I'm not always the biggest fan of this, because eventually your ultimate goal should be to be recovered. But it can be helpful to allow yourself a certain amount of time where you try recovery. Just make sure it's not a short amount of time, because you can't just like say, okay, I'm going to try it for 3 months, and then when I feel still bad, I will go back, because that's not how it works. 3 months is certainly not enough for most of the people, which is why it is so important to keep going. I had one night where I would like stay up the whole night and basically watch one YouTube video after another. I watched all those recovered people talking about their stories, talking about their discomfort, just to hear that in the end they all made it, because that's what I needed, and that's what I'm here for, to tell you, because you can make it. I saw so many people recovering from their eating disorders, not being stuck in quasi-recovery, not going back to their eating disorders, but being fully recovered. And one thing all of these people have in common, and this is staying consistent. And if you have a day where old habits keep creeping in again, it's fine. Just don't see it as a relapse or as a failure, and step back from this all or nothing thinking, because that's also something like very, very many people with eating disorders and also people in recovery have in common, like black or white, all or nothing. If it's, oh, now I ate something, so now I have to eat the whole thing and then I have to restrict tomorrow, because that's basically all or nothing. Or if it's, oh, now I slipped, maybe I purged again, or maybe I skipped a meal, so now I have to go back. This is not how it works. Every single restriction will trigger your eating disorder again. So the sooner you get back on track, the better. And again, there is a reason you're watching this video. And the reason is that deep down you know that you deserve recovery. Deep down you know that you will finally want to be free of a life with an eating disorder. Otherwise you wouldn't even have clicked this video. So if you made it this far, take a second to ask yourself, why do I want to recover? What am I so sick of? And it's sometimes like very easy to forget. Like in my recovery, I had phases where I would actually glorify my eating disorder, even though I lived through it and I knew how horrible it was. But then in recovery, the eating disorder comes back and it's like, oh, it wasn't that bad, right? You had a lot of comfort and it was like very safe and very controlling. Well, it was not. Like sometimes we look back at things and glorify them and forget how bad they were. So make sure to stay consistent. Again, if something happens, if you feel like you're slipping, it's okay, but make sure to get back on track. And also for me, it was very helpful to have a little list of things I wanted to do. I'm also like a very visual person, so like on Instagram and on Pinterest and on like all those platforms, and also as the screensaver on my phone, I would have all those pictures that basically motivated me. If it's people in healthy bodies wearing nice outfits, because I needed to see that there are like women out there who have healthy, curvy bodies and who look amazing, or if it was a picture of California because I knew that I eventually wanted to live here, or if it's a picture of food in a foreign city that you always wanted to travel to. So find out what motivates you. Make a vision board, make a list, whatever it is that helps you. It can even be music, like it can be anything. But try to work with those positive affirmations and not with I am afraid of, like I'm afraid of gaining weight, I'm afraid of looking different, but rather work with things that motivate you and things you look forward to. Like I'm looking forward to finally be able to eat free again. I'm looking forward to wear certain outfits again. I'm looking forward to travel or whatever it is. And then something else that actually helped me a lot was also try not to only concentrate on recovery. Yes, recovery is a full-time job. And for many people that is actually very literal. Like many people actually have to, stop school for a while or stop their job for a while, which I think makes a lot of sense because recovery is a lot. But that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to live your life already. We have a little visitor now. I eventually started to go out again, to meet my friends again, to go to concerts again, and to have those, allow yourself those little moments of joy and those little moments where you stop thinking about food. Because to be completely honest, in recovery, 90% of the time you will think about food, your body, movement, all those things, just like in an eating disorder. But it will eventually change a little bit. So allow yourself those moments of joy, whatever it is that helps you, if it's a massage, if it's going out, if it's already traveling, just make sure that you still concentrate on getting enough food in your body, especially when you start to be more active again. So for instance, let's say you're on a concert and you're standing in the crowd for 2 hours and you're dancing, make sure to eat enough, because we simply keep forgetting that once we start to be more active again, our body needs even more food. But this can also be very, very helpful. And also be careful with your reception or with your consume of media. Like for me, it was crucial to unfollow a lot of people and to follow recovery accounts that were really positive about recovery. Not those accounts where somebody would document their recovery and would post everything they had eaten that day. That was extremely triggering to me. I couldn't handle this. I would follow Amalia Lee, Danny Van Kay, and a lot of other great creators who are recovered for 5 or 10 years already and who talk a lot about recovery. If you want to step back from social media, this is more than fine as well, because social media can also be a mechanism to not have to sit with your emotions. So if you feel like it can be helpful for you to step back from social media in order to allow yourself to feel and process your emotions, that's more than fine. If you don't want to do this, make sure you are careful with your social media consumption. Make sure you follow only people who make you feel good. Nobody wants you to post a picture. Nobody needs you. You don't have to show yourself if you don't feel comfortable in that time. And also, speaking about being comfortable, clothes play a big role. I made a video about recovery in summer and my little tips. Nobody expects you to find your new style right away. For me, I'm laughing because I'm looking back and the things I would wear on some days are very funny to me now. But I was just trying to find something comfortable and I didn't have a lot of clothes that would fit me anymore. I actually had to get all my clothes. I had to buy a lot of new clothes because my body changed a lot. So nobody expects you to have a new style already. Try to wear clothes that makes you feel comfortable. If it's soft cotton or linen or anything natural fabrics. If it's white clothes, something stretchy, especially if you're in extreme hunger, if you feel bloating and all these kind of things, there is nothing wrong with getting as comfortable as possible. Eventually you will have the urge to find your style again, to get some new clothes, to experiment with your new body. I promise you it will come, but there's no need to do it right away. So I really hope this video encouraged you to continue your recovery. I also recently published my website where I'm gonna share a lot of my scientific knowledge that I learned about eating disorders and recovery. And I also just published a book in Germany, and I will publish it very, very soon in America as well, where we're also talking about all those things. So if you need a little bit more motivation, stay tuned. And also, if you have questions, as always, let me know in the comments. I'm very, very happy to make videos about your topics because I know that we're all going or went through the same things. And please stay consistent. I promise you it will pay off. Keep going, keep eating, keep resting, and I will see you in the next one.